Internal respiration is the exchange of your gases that happens in your tissues. So oxygen is being dropped off to diffuse out of the blood vessel, and carbon dioxide is being picked up. Remember that oxygen travels bound to hemoglobin, and carbon dioxide usually travels in the plasma portion of whole blood. So oxygen has to first diffuse out of the plasma and into the interstitial fluids. And then one more step. Then oxygen has to diffuse into the cells. There is this compartment of interstitial fluids that stands between the gases in your blood and the cells needing them. So luckily though, of course, the gradients are set up perfectly to allow oxygen to move down its gradient to your cells and to allow carbon dioxide to move down its gradient and into the plasma. Hemoglobin can carry 4 oxygen molecules, as I have pictured here. However, how many it will actually pick up depends on what is known as hemoglobin's affinity or its love for oxygen. And that's an entire other mini lecture. So you want hemoglobin to be fickle and change its rules. It depends on what's going on around the hemoglobin, if it has love for oxygen or not. So its love for oxygen is very high in your lungs, which is where it picks up oxygen. But as it gets to your tissues, the conditions change, and hemoglobin is like, right? Hemoglobin's like, no, 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 I don't have any love for you anymore. And it drops off the oxygen. As I said before, carbon dioxide does not travel bound to hemoglobin in red blood cells. Carbon dioxide is picked up by the plasma portion of whole blood in internal respiration. Just as the gradient of oxygen is set up here for oxygen to diffuse down its gradient, the same thing here applies for carbon dioxide. Your cells are always pumping out carbon dioxide as a waste product of making ATP. This makes your body tissues have a really high concentration of carbon dioxide in them, and that allows carbon dioxide to diffuse out of your cells into the interstitial fluids and then into your plasma, and after crossing the respiratory membrane into the atmosphere, which we know has very little carbon dioxide in it. All right, I lied a little bit before. There are actually 3 ways in which carbon dioxide could be transported in blood. About 10% of it is actually transported in plasma. 20% of it is bound to hemoglobin. It's not a lot. That's not. And then 70% of it it hits the plasma and it travels as something called the bicarbonate anion. When carbon dioxide hits plasma, an enzyme called carbonic anhydrase, it ushers like a 2-step reaction. First, carbon dioxide and water are changed into something called carbonic acid. Immediately, that carbonic acid immediately dissociates into the bicarbonate anion and one lone hydrogen cation. That hydrogen cation affects the pH and it like pushes hemoglobin to drop off the oxygen it's carrying.